guys, it's Alicia Rain and welcome back to my channel, Rainy Reads. This is going to be the second and final part in a reading vlog series for my Falling for Autumn readathon. If you haven't seen my part 1 reading vlog, I will have that link down below in the description. Before we get into this reading vlog, I am going to do a quick overview of what is on the bingo board. So this is what the blank bingo board looks like, and then this is my progress that I've made in the first vlog. Again, that'll be linked down below in the description if you want to see what books I read in that video. So on the bingo board, there's 12 creatures, and those are our different reading prompts, and you can pair 3 creatures to 1 book. So that means over the course of this readathon, you can read anywhere from 4 to 12 books. I have it planned out that I will be reading 6. So I read 3 books in the last vlog, and in this vlog I'll be reading my final 3. Then we have candy apples, which are treat yourself prompts. It's nothing specific, it's anything that you consider a treat to yourself. And then the autumn leaf prompts are fall activity prompts. Again, not super specific, so people can change it to what they want. There's going to be 4 candy apples and 4 autumn leaves. I only did 1 autumn leaf in September, so I have a lot of fall activities to try and do. So that's what all of those mean. If you did see on the bingo board, I have little coffins in each corner. That is social media or photo prompts. The first one is to share your TBR. The second one is to share your autumn leaves. The third one is to share your candy apples. And the fourth one is to share your wrap up. And if you rated your books, you can include the ratings in there or not. And yeah, that is the intro to this video. I am so excited for this reading vlog. The first book I'm going to read in this vlog is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This has been on my TBR for so long. Years and years. When I first started watching BookTube, this was a series that every booktuber was talking about. Let's talk about what prompts I'm pairing with this book. So like I said, this has been on my TBR for a while, so I'm going to be pairing my money prompt, which is to read a book that's been on your TBR for at least 3 years. I'm pretty sure this one has been on my TBR for at least 8. So I'm pairing that with this one. Then I'm also pairing the witch prompt with this one, and that is to read a book with magic or supernatural elements. And I will be doing a third prompt with this book, and that is the vampire prompt, to read a book with a gothic setting or vibe. I don't know how much of a stretch that one is for this. I was looking up a bunch of books on my fall TBR on Google and what would fit with this gothic setting, and Google said even though this book does take place in 1920s New York, it has a very gothic setting and vibe to it, so I am pairing it with this one. I really don't remember much about this other than it does take place in 1920s New York, and I believe our main character has some sort of psychic ability, and I think she's helping solve a murder case or something. I think there's a serial killer going around. I don't really know, but I just remember hearing so many good things about this. I think there might be a romance in here. I think there's 4 books, so I don't know if that becomes super prominent or strong in the first one, but nonetheless, I'm very excited to jump into this. I do have an audiobook that I might switch back and forth reading physically and listening to. If you did see my part 1 reading vlog for this readathon series that I'm documenting, I was struggling a little bit. I don't know, I just was so tired after work. Work's been picking up a lot. I'm in the accounting team. We're getting a lot of jobs coming in. I work for a construction company, and I would just be so drained at work. I had none of those books available on audio until the very last one, and I just didn't want to read when I got home from work, but I work full time, so it was just a little bit of a struggle. Audiobooks are going to be my best friend in this one, and I'm just going to tandem read. I do want to start this one. I don't know if I'm going to start it today, but I am about to go leave with my boyfriend. We are going to go celebrate his mom's birthday that happened earlier in the week. We're going to go to a pumpkin patch. I am going to bring my camera. This is going to count for my second autumn leaf prompt. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this reading vlog, and I guess I'll talk to you once I end up starting this book and give you my initial thoughts. Alright guys, it's a few days later. I have not done an update in a while, simply because work's been a lot and I'm just trying to get myself to read, and honestly I've been listening to the audiobook a lot to help me get through this. I'm pulling it up on my phone right now, that's why I'm looking down. But as of last night, I got to 34% of the way into the diviners. I wasn't really able to listen to as much as I wanted at work because there's just so much going on that I actually had to take notes so I could remember what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So our main character is Evie O'Neill, but we're also following so many other people and all of their stories are starting to intertwine together, and honestly it's just a lot to keep track of. I do really like the writing, it's very descriptive. I like the setting that we're in, 1920s New York. I like the creepy atmosphere about it with our antagonist, but like I said, there's just so much going on. Looking at my notes here, the book starts off with a group of people using a Ouija board, and someone called Naughty John comes through, and that ends up being our antagonist in this story. And then we have a perspective from Evie. She has the ability to learn people's secrets or just things about them by holding an object that is personal to them. And this kind of got her into a situation with this boy in town, her accusing him of basically just sleeping around with women, and his dad wanted to sue her father. Evie's parents send her to New York to stay with her Uncle Will, and he owns or runs a occult museum. And then we meet a character named Memphis. He is from Harlem, New York City. He has a little brother named Isaiah. Their mother died when they were younger, and their dad kind of just left them and sent them to stay with his sister Octavia. And both Evie and Memphis are experiencing strange dreams, so I'm sure we will find out more about why that is, which we kind of did already because we start hearing about these people called the diviners who have these abilities. We have a character named Jericho who's helping Evie's Uncle Will at the museum, and Evie has a pen pal friend named Mabel who's into Jericho, and Jericho's just very moody, broody, doesn't really leave the museum, so I'm wondering if there's something to that. And we finally did get to the main plot of this book, because in this book Evie is supposed to help her uncle solve this case that is happening. So we have a serial killer on the loose. We do find out that it is this Naughty John character from the first chapter, and we're not really sure what he is. He's a dark entity, but he could be a person. We're not really sure, so there is a mystery to that. He is making a lot of religious references by leaving notes and passages, and the way that he kills people relating to those notes and passages. We've had 2 victims so far. They're trying to figure out and piece things together. And another part of the plot of this story is that the museum might close just because not a lot of people are coming. Evie decided to disclose some information about the case to this reporter in hopes that when they write this article, he will also try and draw attention to the museum, because she's doing that in a way to try and help her uncle not lose the museum, but I really don't think that was a good decision. So that is everything that's going on. I am very interested in it, but because this is for a readathon, I am having to read it pretty quickly or listen to it pretty quickly, and I feel like this is something I could appreciate more if I just felt like I had time to do so. I am actually about to go pick up some bookshelves to upgrade my shelves in this room here. We had mandatory maintenance for our apartment come this week, and this is our first time being here, and we just didn't really think about how the furnace is accessible through the closet. So we had to take everything out of the master bedroom closet, and we're using the master bedroom as our hobby room. So I had to take everything out of there, and it is just a disaster over here. I'm also in the process of putting this bed up. I think I mentioned it in part 1. I don't think I brought it up in this video yet, but I am about to go to IKEA with my gram. My car is not big enough, but she has a big enough car to fit bookshelves in, and then I'm going to try and build them, and that is going to be my 3rd candy apple, I believe. I'm gonna get 2. Originally, I was thinking about 3, but we do have some limited space in here, and I do want to keep using part of this closet as storage. And the like base that my bed rests on, I have to disassemble that tomorrow. My dad's coming out and staying with Grant and I, so he's gonna help us like transfer that and put it together. My gram actually built that for me, and the like underneath part of it is like hollow, so I can fit stuff under there, but until I know how much I can actually fit under there, I'm only gonna get 2 shelves for this closet. That's a lot of rambling, so I'm going to finish getting ready to go to IKEA and then hopefully build these shelves and listen to more of the diviners. I stayed up and finished the diviners last night. I just got home from work a little bit ago. I changed into some comfy clothes, and I just want to tell you guys my thoughts on this book. I know I didn't give a whole lot of updates while reading this, and that's kind of because I was listening to it on audiobook for most of the time. There were a few times where I was listening and reading along, and I'm going to be looking at my phone to tell you guys my thoughts because I would take notes while I was listening so I wouldn't forget anything. And considering I haven't updated you guys in a while, I have quite a few thoughts to talk about. So the last thing that I talked about, I believe, is when the plot was just kicking off. We ended up getting to know more about who or what Naughty John is, which I did find those parts of the book pretty interesting. Honestly, all of the parts that involved our antagonist was the most interesting to me. This book had a very spooky atmosphere, very creepy, very eerie. I did really enjoy that aspect of this book. We also got a lot of different point of views from the different characters, and we were following so many characters in this book. And honestly, I don't even really know how to feel about this book. And I think there's a few factors playing into that. Usually I really like getting different perspectives, but we had such a big cast of characters and we were getting so many different perspectives that it kind of took me out of the story a little bit. I didn't really care for any of the characters in this book. For having such a big cast of characters and for me to not really be attached to any of them is kind of crazy, I feel like. Another thing that could have factored into why I didn't feel like I connected with this story is because I was trying to get through it decently quick for the readathon. It's another one of those instances where I feel like if I just took my time with the book, then I would have been attached to the characters more or just enjoyed the story more overall, because I really did like Libba Bray's writing. I liked the details that she put into the world. I liked how historically accurate it seemed to be. I liked the spooky atmosphere. This honestly had all the things to be like a favorite, I feel like, for me. And for some reason, it just didn't become a favorite. I think I'm gonna rate it 3 stars. There was also a romance in here and I just didn't really root for the romance, and that's probably because I wasn't necessarily rooting. I mean, I was rooting for the characters because they're trying to solve all these murders and the serial killer. I'm obviously not rooting for the serial killer, but it's like, I don't know. I just kind of felt meh about it. Like, it's a good first book in the series. Those are my thoughts on this. Again, sorry I didn't do many check-ins with this one. Another reason is, you know, I was just doing a lot over the last 2 days. I did include footage of like the final view of what this room looks like right now, and I'm honestly really happy with it. I want to organize my bookshelves more, but having this bed in here has made this space so much cozier. We have more storage. I have just like a really comfortable spot to read. So I have 2 books that I need to read still for this vlog before the readathon ends. I am going to jump into this giant one next, and that is Insomnia by Stephen King. I realize I only have 2 weeks left of this readathon, but I have a game plan and I think it'll work. This book is just over 750 pages. I know that's crazy, especially because I have another book after this that I still need to read, but there's 2 good things about this. One, the text is not very small considering the size of the book. The second thing in my favor for this is that I was able to find parts 2 and 3 on YouTube, so I just need to physically read part 1, and then while I'm working during my work week, I can listen to the rest of the book. So that is my game plan for this. Let me quickly go over which prompts I am pairing with this book. So this one actually has 3 prompts paired with it. The first one is zombie, and that is to give a book a second chance at life, which basically means to pick up a book you DNF. This book is a soft DNF. I think I tried reading this 2 years ago. I think I got about 100 pages in, but our main character is dealing with grief, and I just think it wasn't something I really wanted to read, but I am very intrigued by this book. The second prompt I'm pairing with this is the Banshee prompt, and that is to read a book that scares you. This one's pretty open to interpretation. I said it being a thriller or a horror book could scare you, the length of the book could scare you, or simply like people's reviews of the book could scare you if it's something that's been affecting you picking it up, whether it be a lot of high ratings or a lot of low ratings. For me, if it's not obvious, the length of the book is what scares me for this one. And then I'm also pairing this with my skeleton prompt, which is to read a book that involves a death in some way. Our main character in the beginning of the story loses his wife, and this book talks a lot about grief. So I'm gonna count it for this one. All I know is that we're following our main character, Ralph. The book starts off with him losing his wife, so we are following him while he's dealing with his grief and trying to cope with that and just try to get back to his day-to-day. But he's having a really difficult time trying to sleep. Again, I only got 100 pages into this 750 page book, so I don't think anything really started yet. I think when I ended this, it was just starting to talk about his insomnia problems. Oh my gosh, you guys, part 1 is so long. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna do anything other than read after work this entire week because part 1 is longer than I thought. Part 1 ends on page 307, which is over a third of the way into this book. That's like almost half of this book. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. This is the part of the reading vlog where I love making reading vlogs, don't get me wrong. I just really don't like having to rush through books. And why I chose this one, I have no idea. Okay, actually I do know why. I just didn't have a lot of spooky books that I had tried reading before and just completely DNF'd or soft DNF'd. And I have been putting this off for a while and I wanted to do it. But I am kind of regretting my decisions. I didn't make it a rule that you can't change your TBR. I've just I made my official announcement TBR for this readathon, so I'm gonna stick to it. And I also don't know when I will actually push myself to read this if I don't do it now. So I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm gonna start reading this book. So it's been another time jump. I know I literally said I wasn't going to have a massive time jump and give you guys more updates than I did for the diviners, but just let me explain, okay? Let me explain. So I actually tried doing 2 updates for this book and I haven't even watched those back yet. I just know that I sound so insane trying to explain what this book is about because So much happened in this book. I have finished. Thank God I finished, because if you just saw the date I put on the screen, that means I have 2.5 days to do everything else that I need to do to clear my bingo board. I am struggling trying to figure out how to properly explain what this book is about while not giving spoilers, because almost everything I need to say just happens in part 1, and all the things that I want to talk about in parts 2 and 3 I feel like could be considered spoilers if I get too specific about it, which would be like the parts that would make this so like entertaining to hear about and convince you to pick up the book. I've kept notes in my phone. Like, I took so many notes because so much was going on. I tried writing it out to where it made sense, and now I'm here for the 3rd time trying to figure out how to explain this. So not only in this book are we following our main character and him experiencing insomnia, there's also a lot of political things being discussed in this book, as well as something that I will say would be a trigger warning for people. So for every book, always look up trigger warnings, but especially for thriller and horror books, because you really never know what's going to be brought up. And this is something that I wasn't expecting to be reading about, and that is domestic abuse and violence. That is a big, like, thing that becomes a catalyst for another main plot of this book. In the beginning of this book, in the prologue, we are with Ralph and his wife. She's still alive in the prologue, and we follow the whole situation that happens with her. So his wife ends up getting sick, and they go to their family doctor, Dr. Litchfield. He ends up diagnosing her with something and prescribes her medication. She's only getting worse, so they do another series of tests only to find out that the diagnosis was way off, and she actually ends up having a tumor. I believe it was in her brain, and the doctor said even if they did properly diagnose it the first time, she was just so far into it that nothing is going to help her, and she only has X amount of time to live. So super devastating beginning to a story, and while she's still alive, we're seeing Ralph grieve the time that he has left with her. So he starts going on walks a lot to try and just like cope and like clear his mind. And while he's on one of these walks, he runs into one of his neighbors, 𝑬𝒔𝒂𝒕𝒄𝒉, I think is how you say his last name, and he knows Ed. They get along. He's very friendly, calm guy, but when he sees him, he's acting completely different. He's getting into this altercation with this guy that's driving a truck and just becoming aggressive, and Ralph has to calm him down, and Ed is just acting completely crazy. He's talking about dead babies, how he's convinced this guy driving his truck, because he has like a flatbed, I think it's called, that he's smuggling dead babies' bodies around. So like, they literally search his truck, nothing's there. Ralph's trying to talk some sense into him. He's talking about seeing the colors, and he's talking about seeing this guy called the Crimson King, or that the Crimson King is going to come. That's what happens in our prologue. And in that prologue, our main character Ralph says that he's worried that this behavior from Ed is going to become a problem in the future. And boy, oh boy, is he correct. It definitely becomes a problem in the future. Now, to jump into the main points, other points of this. Like I said before, Ralph starts experiencing insomnia, really due to his wife's passing, and he's getting very little sleep. This starts off from him waking up at like 6 a.m. to as early as 2 a.m. and only getting 3 hours of sleep. So not only is he dealing with depression from the loss of his wife, he's also just struggling even more so mentally and physically now with getting such little sleep, and it's affecting him so much that he's starting to see things, and those things are like people's auras, and you kind of learn with him what the different colors mean, because it depends on the person, but also the mood that they're in and like what their motives and intentions are. Their colors change. And another thing that Ralph starts to notice are these, like, he describes them as balloon strings or ribbons, like floating above people. And this is concerning because this ties into something that Ed said to Ralph in the beginning of this story. So Ralph was correct when Ed's behavior was going to become an issue, and this is where the domestic violence and abuse comes into the story. So we end up finding out that Ed is beating his wife, Helen, and Helen and Ed have a, I think, 10-month-old baby named Natalie. I wouldn't really say this is a spoiler. Ralph is in a pharmacy, and the woman cashing him out starts screaming because she sees this very badly beat up woman covered in blood, really not walking, but like dragging herself through the streets carrying her baby. And Ralph figures out it's Helen, figures out that it was Ed, but because of Ralph getting involved in their situation, Ed is calling Ralph, threatening him, telling him that he needs to stop meddling in business that isn't his, asking him if he started seeing the colors, telling him that if he's not careful, the little bald doctors will come for him, as well as the Crimson King. Now that would sound crazy. I mean, it is crazy, but it would sound really crazy if Ralph wasn't starting to see colors, as Ed put it. So now Ralph is like, what the heck is going on? And the reason, which is not a good reason, there's no good reason to beat someone to the brink of death, but the reason why 𝑬𝒊𝒏𝒌𝒔 beat his wife Helen so bad this time is because he saw that his wife signed a petition to keep a women's resource center open and active in Derry, which is the town that this book takes place in. And the reason why he was so upset about this is not because of all of the things that the Women's Center helps women with. It is because they help aid in abortions. Yeah. So that's why he did what he did. Absolutely ridiculous. And that whole thing with the Women's Center is also a big plot point in this, because that is where this book gets very political. There is a big divide between literally pro-choice and pro-lifers. They just have different names. So we have the domestic abuse violence situation between Ed and Helen. We have the Women's Resource Center being like under attack, for lack of better words, by these people that don't want it running. There's supposed to be a big speech happening about the importance of having a place like the Women's Center, which plays a part into this whole plot line. And remember when I said Ed told Ralph he would start seeing these little bald doctors? Well, Ralph does, because when he's up late at night looking in the neighborhood, he sees these very small, he describes them as like alien-like men or creatures running around with giant like surgical scissors causing mischief. And that's where I'm going to stop explaining this and just read what Google says, because this kind of just sums up the rest of this book. Everything I just said happens in part 1. There's a lot of things that I want to say happen, but I feel like it's on the brink of spoiler territory, which is a shame because it's all of the stuff that make this book so interesting. It's just that you don't see it coming at all. So I'm gonna be completely honest, I just looked up in Google, explain what Insomnia by Stephen King is about without spoilers, and I feel like this does a pretty good job. This says, a retired widower named Ralph Roberts, who after a spell of sleeplessness begins to see hidden auras around people and supernatural entities that are a part of a cosmic battle between forces of order and chaos. The story blends supernatural horror with grounded political conflict as Ralph and his friends become entangled in a fight for existence that has echoes in other Stephen King stories. Now you're probably thinking, how the heck do we get from everything I just explained to a cosmic battle between forces of order and chaos? Yeah, a lot happens in this book. I did really enjoy this book. I have no idea what I'm rating it yet. Right now I'm thinking either a 3.5 or a 4-star. There is just so much to process, and again, I read this so fast. That is the only bad thing about doing these reading vlogs or readathons, is that I always severely underestimate how tired I'm going to be after work and then how much cramming I'm going to have to do because I'm running out of time. And that's exactly what happened. I read like 80% of this book in the last 4 days. Well, I like read and then like listened to the last 60% of this book. It was really good. A lot of people, after looking it up, have said that it might be a little difficult to understand some of the things in here if you haven't read the Dark Tower series yet, which I have not. Now, was I confused? Yes. Like, I am not going to lie. I was confused. But I was still able to follow along for the most part, so I'm very intrigued to see what is tied in with that. Now, this is the same fictional town where the book It is set in, so there's a lot of references to that, and as much as I would like to nerd out about it, there are some spoilers because this takes place after the events of that book, so I can't get into it, but it was really fun seeing that. I feel like I'm not really going to do it justice, unfortunately, and I feel like even if I did updates as I was reading, it would be even worse because I would be so lost. Like I said, I tried doing an update after just reading part 1 and I was struggling then. I think doing this was the best way to go about it. And with something else that I can't really get into, I think there's also ties to the Shining and Dr. Sleep books. Because, I don't know, can I say that? Just the way they explain people's life force kind of sounds like The Shining. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's going to make no sense to you. But if you've read those books and haven't read this yet, then I feel like that's going to be very intriguing to you. So yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. There's like different levels of reality, not necessarily dimensions. There's different levels of reality. So quickly, just my thoughts on this. Like I said, I'm debating between a 3.5 and a 4-star rating for this one. I feel like at least 150 pages could have been omitted. Like a lot of the epilogue of this book, I just feel like wasn't necessary. I really don't. Or at least if we kept the epilogue, it could have been shortened. I don't really know how many pages it was in the physical book, but just from listening to it for a couple hours, I was just like, okay, why is the story still going, you know? Not necessarily that it was bad, it's just some parts definitely dragged in here. I did like the characters in here. There is a romance in here. I don't really care for the romance per se. I don't know. I feel a little indifferent on it. It's not like I very much disliked it, and it's not that I was really rooting for it. It just kind of happened, and I was just like, okay, this is happening, if that makes sense. So technically there's a romance in here. It's not like the main point of this book, which I honestly really liked, because I feel like if this started happening in a later part of this book and then that was the main focus, I would have been really annoyed, because like I've mentioned so many times, so much is going on. So at least that doesn't pull away from the main point of this book. I'm gonna stop talking because I've been talking for far too long. This says it's been 26 minutes. I am going to start reading the last book for this vlog, and that is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. And this was going to have 2 prompts paired with it. I'm only doing 1 now. If you watched the first part of this reading vlog, I was going to have the siren prompt with this book, but I had the audiobook on hold on the Libby app, and it still said I had 20 weeks left. So I actually ended up using that prompt for a book in that vlog. So this one just has 1 reading prompt with it. It's the last reading prompt to fulfill, and that is the ghost one, and that is to just read a thriller or horror book. This is a thriller book. We are following our main character, and it's Halloween day, and she actually gets attacked, and the person was trying to murder her, and they failed. But they severely injured her. She got a big injury on her head, and the doctors give her a week to live. So she's spending the last week she has alive trying to solve her own murder, which sounds crazy, and I'm super intrigued by this storyline. I love this author. She wrote the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. It's one of my favorite series, and I'm just very excited to get into it. That's all I really know about it. So I'm going to start this. One of my fall activities that I really want to do is have a spooky movie marathon, and to me a marathon is a minimum of 3 movies, and realistically I don't think I can bring myself to watch more than 3 movies in a day, because I am trying to do so much this weekend. So I have 3 movies in mind that I would like to watch. Technically I want Grant to watch all of these with me, but I need to get started on this. He's at work right now. The movies I would like to watch are Hocus Pocus, Beetlejuice, and The Craft. I'm kind of saving the actual scary movies I want to watch for Halloween day, so those won't be in this video, but they are still Halloween movies. So I am going to have that count as my 3rd autumn leaf, I believe. It might be my 2nd or my 3rd. So I think what I'm going to do is start this, read a good chunk, watch a movie, read some more, watch a movie, and just vice versa, split it up like that. So since this is about 400 pages long, I'm thinking I'll wait until I get around the 100 page mark to give you guys my initial thoughts. Tomorrow I am going to a haunted forest with my boyfriend and his family, which will be, it should be my last autumn leaf, and then I need to figure out what my other candy apple is gonna be. So yeah, those are my plans, and I will talk to you guys when I get a good ways into this. Alright, I quite literally just finished reading for my last little chunk here, and I got to page 77. Initial thoughts, I have no idea how I'm gonna feel about this book. So basically, this book starts off following our main character, Jet. She's at a fair, Halloween fair or fundraiser for her dad's company. He owns a construction company. We see her interact with her brother. They don't seem to have the best relationship. He seems like a really big asshole, honestly. That's the only way I can say it. I was trying to think of a nicer word. No, he seems like an asshole, and so does everyone else in this girl's family, honestly. Jet is 27 years old. She was a law student, but she dropped out and moved back home. She used to live in Boston. It might have said where she's living right now, but she moved back. And her brother's just kind of digging at her for that, saying that she never follows through with anything. And even her brother's wife, who used to be Jet's best friend back in high school, was even throwing digs at her. I guess Jet was trying to think about running a dog walking app, and even she was getting on her about how that's a dumb idea and you don't follow through with anything. So literally everyone in this book annoys me so far. Jet is at this fair. Her ex JJ comes in asking to talk to her, and she just brushes him off and basically tells him to go away. And then she makes her way back home, and she hears someone run behind her, and then she feels her skull crack, the sound in her head, and then she passes out, and then she wakes up in the hospital 2 days later. Now she's in the hospital. She wakes up. She's confused as to why she's there and why her family looks so miserable. And that's because when her doctor comes in, she tells her everything that happened, which I did write down a short version of what happened to her, because there's a long explanation in this book, scientific talk. So basically, she had a fractured skull, and it's a miracle that she can still move, think, and function, the doctor said. And they were able to successfully mend the fracture during a surgery. But after that surgery, they wanted to do one more CT scan. And when they did that, they found out that due to the trauma in the back of her head and being hit multiple times, it resulted in a fracture of some bone. It's called the clivus. I'm not really sure. But basically, that is leaning against a major artery that is a blood supply to your brain. And I guess Jet and her dad, because she inherited it from her dad, both have polycystic kidney disease, which already weakens those types of arteries and walls. So it even makes the situation worse than it already is. There is a surgery that can be done, but it has a less than 10% chance survival rate, and that's without already having weakened walls of where that artery is. And the doctor says that they could either try and perform the surgery, and if it's unsuccessful, she'll die on the operation table, or she has 7 days left to live before she ultimately has an aneurysm and dies. So literally the worst news that one could get. And somehow her mother is still causing such a scene, because the doctor says it's up to Jet on if she wants to have the surgery or not. Her mom's trying to answer for her, saying that she is. Jet decides that she doesn't want the surgery. Her mom has a whole meltdown and freaks out about it. Apparently they lost a sibling. I'm not sure everything that happened with that. I'm sure that's something we'll find out more. But the mom is just I don't know. I can't think of words right now. But her mom is just making everything about her, really. She's I can't believe you would do this to me. I can't believe you would do this to our family. I already lost a kid. I can't lose another one. I can't believe you're being so selfish. And it's so annoying, because this girl is already dealing with everything that happened to her and trying to come to the fact that she's going to die, and then she has her mother doing this. And the thing that really set me over the edge right before I finished this is that her mom had everyone in the family come to a breakfast to try and change Jet's mind again about the surgery. And when Jet refused to have the surgery again, she threw brochures or pamphlets of caskets or urns and telling her to figure out if she wants to be buried or cremated, since she can make her own decisions. That is absolutely insane to me. So yeah, I am not a fan whatsoever of anyone in this poor girl's life. So there's a few other things that are important to note. So Jet finds out that she was struck multiple times The person that ended up finding her was her neighbor Billy, who we kind of had an interaction with briefly before the attack happened. And Billy's dad is a sergeant, and his dad is a part of the team that's trying to help solve the case of who attacked Jet. I'm not going to get into all the specifics here because this is a spoiler-free reading vlog, but I just find it so weird that the cops let her go see the crime scene before it was cleaned up, with her blood everywhere still and the splatter. And I get that she's closer to Sergeant Feeney, but even him telling her oh, we deduced that this is a possibility, or to look for this in the suspect because this is how the blood scatter was, and then they hit you when you were like this, and it was just so unrealistic. Which, if you're gonna read books, you need to go in knowing that it's not always gonna be the most realistic. But I don't know, that just seemed a little odd to me that they were even giving her that much information. So as far as suspects go, they really only have one person right now. Personally, I don't trust anyone in her family. That's where I left off. I have one more movie left that I want to watch. However, Grant is going to be home from work soon and we need to go grocery shopping, so I don't think I'm going to read any more today. Tomorrow night, I am going to a terrified forest with my boyfriend and his family, which is going to be really, really fun. We're not really doing anything else tomorrow, so I'm going to try and read some more. And I am going to bring my camera with me. I don't think I can film anything in the trail. It's probably a part of their rules. If there are little things that I can film, I'll include that in this video for you guys. If not, I'll try and take some pictures. But yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow. I may or may not do an update before I go. It just all kind of depends on what I actually end up doing. But I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Alright, I just read to page 149. I'm roughly halfway. This reads pretty quickly, so I definitely have faith that I will finish this before the end of the day tomorrow. I definitely plan to read more today. I just want to take a little bit of a break and then just get ready to go to the terrified forest. But let me talk about some more stuff that just happened. So, someone ended up taking a $30,000 loan towards her truck in her name, which is very, very weird. So she's super confused about that because she definitely did not do that. So she ended up giving that over as evidence to the cops to look into. And then the Sergeant Feeney ended up giving Jet some more information about something that they found on the crime scene, which he really shouldn't be doing, but he did. And Jet kind of went and ran with that, and she kind of roped Billy into helping her out. Well, didn't really rope him in. He wanted to help her. She was actually trying to do stuff on her own. Don't mind Pumpkin attacking my hand. So Jet and Billy went to go investigate this a little bit further. It did lead them to some more clues on who the suspect could be. Jet pulled a whole Pippa Fitzmoby moment if you read the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And when I say that, I mean she quite literally took matters into her own hands and started doing things to find evidence that she, again, really shouldn't be doing. And, oh my gosh, Pumpkin, chill, girl, chill. And we also find out more information about Jet's sister. Her name was Emily, how she passed away. I'm trying to be super vague, and Pumpkin's also just making it harder than it already is because you just keep attacking me. You keep attacking my hand. You're so cute though, you're just so cute. But yeah, that's really all I can say without entering spoiler territory. And this cat is just having a field day on my arm. I may or may not do an update when I get back from the haunted forest later. It just kind of depends on when we get out. Apparently it's farther than we thought. It's like a 40-minute drive for us, so I don't know, we might be getting back pretty late. I do, like I said, want to read more before we leave, and then as long as I can like use my phone as a light or something, I'll read some more in the car. And then tomorrow is the last day of the readathon, and I will have a candy apple left and then just this book left, because this Haunted Forest is going to be my final autumn leaf for the readathon. I will talk to you guys either tonight or tomorrow morning. This is a horrible angle, but it is the next morning. As you can see, I took a bath. So we ended up getting back pretty late last night. I also couldn't really film much because specifically when you're on the trail, they do not want any phones out taking video whatsoever. So unfortunately, I didn't really get to film anything from the Haunted Forest last night, but it was really fun. We had a really good time. And then we went out to eat afterwards and we had some really, really good food. Before I left, I read a bunch. On the way there and on the way home, I read a bunch, and I even stayed up and read some more last night. And now I only have like 40 pages left. So I'm gonna have a slow morning because I'm definitely gonna be able to finish the book today. I also need to finish it today because it's the last day of the readathon. I'm about to do this face mask. I really like these ones. My mom started getting them for me. I think they're like $3 or $4. They're just like the sheet masks that you put on your face. And this stays on for about 20 minutes. I'm not really gonna say anything of how I'm feeling right now because I'm so close to the end. I'm going to do this, have my coffee, take my time finishing this book, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts. All right, let's talk about my thoughts and like the end of Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. So I obviously read a very big chunk yesterday. There were a lot of twists that happened, some that I did see coming, some I didn't. And that honestly is what kept me wanting to read this book, as well as it just being a very easy read. Like, I feel like it's very easy to get through this book. It wasn't necessarily that I was super gripped, that I was getting through it really quickly, if that makes sense. I am slightly disappointed by this. I was hoping it was going to be at least a 4-star just because I really do love the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy so much by this author. That being said, I think holding it to the same expectation of my love for that series was not really fair for this book. All that being said, I think I'm gonna settle on a 3-star rating for this. It's a good thriller, it has the twists, it's a quick read. However, I don't know, it just kind of fell flat for me. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of the characters in here I just found very annoying, honestly. I don't think there was a single character that didn't annoy me in some way. And I do feel like maybe, and I don't know, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book yet because it did recently come out. I feel like the character was trying to be like Pip from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I think the author was trying to mimic a similar character in this book, and it just wasn't really working for me, honestly. I'm not saying it's a bad book, it's just like, I don't know, just something was missing for me, and the ending kind of annoyed me a little bit. There was just a lot happening. It just wasn't a super realistic ending to me, and I just felt like, I don't know, it was slightly rushed. It was like trying to answer questions that you still had within the last like 5 pages, just like thrown together. If you haven't read anything by this author before, and even if you have, this is just my opinion. If the premise still sounds interesting to you, go for it, try it. Let me do a quick recap of what I rated all the books that I read in this vlog. So the first book I read was The Diviners by Libba Bray, and this one I gave 3 stars. Then I read Insomnia by Stephen King, and I settled on a 3.5-star rating for this one. And then lastly, once again, we have Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson, and I also gave this book a 3-star rating. That is the end of this vlog, which is honestly crazy. I know I probably looked stressed in this video. I just had so much going on, but know that I had a lot of fun. I'm honestly pretty proud of myself for putting this readathon together pretty last minute. I absolutely want to do it again next year. Maybe I will tone it down a little bit though. I think I am very much an overachiever, and doing a 5x5 bingo board readathon was kind of crazy. Next year, I'm thinking I will do either a 4x4 bingo board or a 3x3 bingo board. Now, I had quite a few people join my Discord. We had a lot of fun over there. It was fun talking to people, getting to know new people, seeing what books they were reading, sharing our thoughts on that, seeing what people were doing for their fall leaves and candy apples. It was just, yeah, all around really, really fun. So yeah, I cleared my bingo board. Everything was cleared. I was able to do what I set out to do. That's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed both reading vlogs for this Falling for Autumn readathon. I am going to take a little bit of a YouTube break just because it's getting around that time of year with the holidays coming up. I want to make sure I'm focusing on family and friends and spending time with them, especially because I did dedicate so much time for these last 2 reading vlogs. So it might be a little bit until you see me on here again. I think I'm going to try and do some more short form content over on my Instagram and my TikTok. I have both of those linked down below in the description if you want to check me out over there, as well as some other places you can find me. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you're having a great day whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys again in the next video.